Man, that was some hot Street Fighter V beta action. Did you play the beta? You were a master of the beta this weekend, I bet.
I was mastering that beta all weekend, Efren. My girlfriend was furious.
You're watching Best of 3.
Awesome. Intense.
Welcome to Best of 3, a weekly fighting game talk show presented by The Daily Dot. I'm your host, Efren Salinas, and with me, as always, master of the beta, Michael Donka Schiller.
I try to be here.
Yeah, man. Last time you were an apprentice. This time you're a master.
That's how it is. You know, you got to rank up slowly. You go from the chicken to the master of the beta.
Gotcha. All right. So today on the show, we're very excited. We're going to talk about a couple of things. Of course, the big news is that Dawson was revealed. And to help us talk about that, we're going to bring in our reporting partner from Eventhubs, our brother from another mother, our friend, John Velociraptor Guerrero. John, thank you so much for joining us again.
What's going on, team? How you guys doing?
So, John, always is a pleasure to have you on the show. This makes 2. So the 2 times you've been on, it's been a pleasure so far. We're going to talk with John. We're going to talk about the reveals. We're going to talk about tournaments. And in case you didn't catch up on that news, we have a quick cast or a leaderboard from our boy Ian, and he's going to fill you in on all the details.
Buckle up, Street Fighter fans. Street Fighter V has a brand new addition to the roster and an official release date. I'm Ian Barker, and this is the leaderboard. The Capcom Pro Tour is rapidly approaching a climactic conclusion, but players are already looking forward to the follow-up to Ultra Street Fighter 4. Fortunately for diehards, they won't have to wait much longer. According to Capcom, the game will officially launch for PlayStation 4 and PC on February 16th of 2016. Capcom also confirmed the inclusion of stretchy zoner Dalsim as part of a 16-character lineup at release. The roster will apparently expand to 22 fighters over the course of 2016 as Capcom releases new entrants, meaning a big year for PlayStation as fighters gear up for next gen.
So, a couple of exciting things there, I would say, John. First and foremost, Dalsim, but also a release date. What was announced today? There was a little bit more detail than that. If you could fill us in, John.
Yeah, we got that Street Fighter's coming out in February 16th of 2016. So that's exciting because that actually gives us a date to look forward to. You know, it's not just spring. It's not sometime. It's not a time that, well, maybe it's going to get kicked back farther because we don't have a cemented date. It's coming, February 16th. That's really cool. And then, yeah, we also got Dalsim, which, I mean, he's a part of the old school cast. He's always welcome in a Street Fighter game. Yeah, well, a lot of big news, Street Fighter V today, and it just people are going crazy about it right now, you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was pretty pumped to hear it. Dalsim looks awesome. Most notably, the dude's got a beard. That seems to be going around in Street Fighter these days, Street Fighter V. Zangief is probably thinking, I was doing that before it was cool, right? But the other thing that I noticed that came out, this was at the Paris Games Show where they revealed not only the date, not only the release date, not only the fact there was Dawson, but they put out this image, which I thought was a nice little tease. If you could pull that, Will, full screen for us. This is a shot of the 6 characters that will be added to the roster over the course of 2016, and all of them will be earnable via
Fight money.
I don't know if you saw, Mike, any of these details on how you get fight money. One of the ways that they're breaking it down is daily challenges. Not to be confused with what Mortal Kombat does, because I think they do similar things. But in this case, do X amount of counter hits, do X amount of anti-airs, X amount of different things, and you get fight money. Your thoughts on that?
They tried to assure us, what they said was that if you play daily and you play a couple characters, you should get enough money for the characters as they come out, which isn't a big deal. And they said they'd have Zenny as an alternate, like, paid version of the same thing in case you don't want to spend all that time playing. I think it's a good thing. I think this is where Street Fighter's needed to head for a long time at this point to keep up. The people who want to play casually can come in and spend as much money as they want on the game. It lets more people get in the scene, which makes more people watch it, which makes more people play it. You know, it's cyclical, and I think it's all really good news. As for the 6 characters, there was a leak the other day which included Dalsim, and it's kind of making people think that it's going to align with this. We heard Guile and Balrog and Ibuki and a couple other characters. People are saying they've seen, I think, everyone under the sun in those silhouettes, though, so it's really hard to know for sure.
John, I'm not sure if you saw on Capcom Unity the post that Hans put up, but in that post where he talks about Dalsim and these other things about the how you're going to get fight money, they put 2 images on there. One from his original Street Fighter 2 ending where he's like, my work is done, I can go back and help my family. And then another shot, which is from his, if I'm not mistaken, his ending in Street Fighter 4 where he's back with his family and he's like, happy to be with them. I think that it was very specifically chosen, those 2 images, because, as you said, it's Dalsim's son that's going to be one of the new characters.
People have said that. I mean, it's harder to guess now. Would they really reveal Dalsim and then his son? But that was the leak before. I mean, I don't know.
What do you think, John?
That's that avenue is kind of news to me, but that's incredibly interesting. Like, I mean, and trying to think back immediately, do a lot of time, or do they have a lot of family members in the same games as other characters, or do they like to do like, oh, this is this person's, like we have Laura, who is Sean's sister, right?
Oh, there you go. I was trying to think, is there any example
game,
of that?
Right, but do they usually put the same family in the same game, or do they use those like almost like a jungle swing to another character, and you say, oh, this guy is kind of like this guy because they're in the same family, they have some similar moves, kind of thing like that. But
yeah, it seems harder to believe now.
The thing is, though, I mean, it worked for Tekken, and up on this stage was none other than Harado at the Paris Games event. I don't know if you were catching it live, but it started with, here, I'm trying to play the video here, but it started with the announcements as we know them, and there's Yoshinori Ono on stage through a translator revealing Dalsim and talking about some of those other cool things. But towards the end of this video, and I'm going to see if I can fast forward it, we have none other than our buddy Harada come out. So again, these guys are friends, and it worked for them. Why wouldn't you have siblings on a character roster?
Well, yeah, that's a good point too. And and considering that we're just now getting Street Fighter V, if there's going to be anything with any new content like that, like with a new storyline and new character, I mean, it's going to be, we're not going to have another game for a really long time. So yeah, if he's around, he's going to be in Street Fighter V. I guess it's just a question of, are they really introducing Dalsim's brother at all?
What I think is really cool, and since we're on the topic of Harada being, and he's going to pop up here in this video here in a second, is that I've been saying it all along. Sony is making a concerted effort to make sure that their console is the home of fighting games, and we've already seen their intention of going into esports and putting money into it. I think this is their first step. If I'm not mistaken, they announced some kind of online league, some esports league just recently. It was in French, so I couldn't read it. But the point is, Tekken 7 was announced as a PlayStation 4 title. As somebody who has been covering fighting games journalistically for a very long time, John, how do you feel about the fact that Street Fighter V will be on PlayStation 4, Tekken 7 will be on PlayStation 4, and that Sony looks like they really want to push this whole fighting game esports thing?
Yeah, that was, as soon as I heard PlayStation 4 with Tekken, that was the first thing that came to mind. Oh, they got Street Fighter, they've got Tekken. They really are making PlayStation the home of fighting games. At least that's what they're trying, and it looks like they're really succeeding in that. What's more, I don't know if you guys heard, because it just came up kind of after the fact, and we were talking about all these other huge reveals, that Tekken 7 is going to support the PlayStation VR, their virtual reality. They didn't say how, but I mean that's a PlayStation exclusive, at least as of right now, and they're really trying to get these games associated with PlayStation and PlayStation exclusively. So yeah, I think their goal, as they told us before, when Street Fighter 4 or Street Fighter 5 was announced for PlayStation 4 exclusively, they want to make PS4 the home of fighting games, and they're really doing it.
Hey, we have David Hayter here in the chat saying, "Well, PS4 still doesn't have KI, so hold that."
Or Mortal Kombat, well, I guess you mean exclusively. Yeah, no,
exactly,
no KI
exactly.
at all.
And I'd like to bring up something myself, which is interesting enough. They've been doing all this for the PS4, and I'm not sure how much everyone wants to have this be on the front, but the PC version of Street Fighter V's beta was, leaked and pirated and now able to be played offline in its current state.
Before you go any further, right. So the Street Fighter V beta happened this weekend. It was gone before we wanted it to be, and everybody was kind of like, oh, I could use a little bit more. And as you're pointing out, some people came to the rescue.
Yeah, and it wasn't apparently very difficult for them. I mean, they just basically tricked the game into not updating to require to search for a match online.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that's out there now, and people aren't really talking about it, but it's one of those things that's always a problem with PC games is piracy, and that's something they're trying to avoid, obviously, with fighting games already being in a niche market. So we'll see if the PC avenue even stays open, or if PS4 will take over everything.
Well, speaking of the beta, all of us got our hands on it. We have a master of the beta here to my right. And if I'm not mistaken, Donka, you focused on Vega.
Mostly Vega.
John, you focused on Necalli, and I got my hands on our Mika, and we're going to talk about it in that order. Donka, let's talk a little bit about Vega.
Vega obviously changed a lot in this iteration of the game. In old games, he would lose his claw via being hid, lose his mask. It's the same way now, but now he can opt to take off the claw, giving him an array of new moves. His normals change a little bit, and he gains some new special moves, notably a command grab.
Can he lose the claw or just
He
unsheath
can
it, basically?
indeed lose the claw, and if he loses it, he can never have it again.
Okay.
He retains his spin move that he gets, which lets him take on and put off the claw, but he can't put it on anymore. I mean, he'll just spin without doing anything. Vega, I believe, to be pretty strong right now. He's gained some anti-airs, which is a big problem for him in the past, and his footsies work really well with the new V-Trigger they gave him. He can cancel a lot of his normally uncancelable normals into his V-Trigger, which is a thrown rose, which is safe on block and leads into a super on hit. So, something like a counter hit standing medium punch can go into another counter hit standing medium punch into a rose into a super, which is like 500 damage as opposed to the old 1 to 200 at best he ever got. And with the command grab and the just ridiculous frame data of his normals, most stuff is plus. I think he's going to be really, really strong, and he's going to be played a lot differently than he ever was in old Street Fighter games.
So is that your new character? I mean, you've played both betas. You've played all the characters. You're liking Vega.
If they put Guile in the game, I'll play Guile almost certainly. But for right now, I really like Vega a lot. Vega and Ryu.
Okay, let's move on to a brand new character that people really sunk their teeth into over the beta was Necalli. I'm going to pull up the video, John, but why don't you go ahead and take the lead on that?
Well, I am currently a man in search of a character, and Necalli kind of appealed to me more than anyone else because he's brand new, kind of a fresh start. He's a good character because his pressure is really good. He can do a lot of his combos into a stomp and stay safe whether he hits you or not, and he can see if he hits you, confirm, and then continue on a little bit more. So that's really good. His mobility is so-so until he gets into his V-Trigger, and then he can dash around the stage like it's his job. It's ridiculous. His damage output is really good, but overall, I'm worried that he's gonna kind of fall behind the rest of the cast because while he's got a lot of potential in a couple of different avenues, he's not ridiculous where he needs to be. He's got decent damage, he's got decent pressure, he's got decent mobility, but a lot of other characters have ridiculous whatever their main focus is, and I feel like he's gonna kind of get lost. He's gonna kind of fall through the cracks. I'm afraid. Now it is early, and you take all of this with a grain of salt because the game's gonna change a lot. We don't even have all the characters yet, but he's fun, but I don't think he's gonna be the best.
I totally agree with you right now, but as you said, I mean, Bison and Ryu specifically from the original cast lost so many different links and other characters gained a lot. So yeah, we'll see whether or not they'll give him the frame advantage or the links that he needs to be a lot better. But I do agree that he seems like he's missing something right now. But his pressure game is really good.
I think back to Vanilla Street Fighter 4 when they announced a character. All those new characters were so different from the rest of the cast. And I'm thinking guys like, Sea Viper with the burn kicks, El Fuerte with the way he runs back and forth. Compare this brand new character, Necalli, to, the mindset or where you were when Vanilla dropped. Does Necalli stand apart enough to get you excited about it? Because one of the things I heard was that he wasn't as exciting as people thought once they finally got their hands on him.
He's not a high flyer. He's not super flashy. He's kind of brawling at you. And that's an interesting point, yes, because maybe with those new reveals, those new characters, you want something like a burn kick that creates an arc of a flame and hits your opponent and stuff, or Fuerte who can just dash around the stage and scream ridiculous stuff in Spanish,
Yeah.
There certainly was a pizzazz to those characters, and minus Necalli's hair maybe, he doesn't seem like he's all that flashy and all that different. And I think another reason why he might kind of fall through the cracks rather. So yeah, that's a good point. I don't think that he has that new character flair in his gameplay, and that might be a problem.
So cool. I got my hands on Mika over the weekend, and I'm familiar with her. I played her maybe once or twice in Alpha, and I was like, this character is not for me. I'm not interested at all, and it was above my pay grade at the time. I didn't know how to play. I was really digging her in the beta. She is super cool. I'm not going to lie, and I'm probably going to get hate for this. I think her appearance is ridiculous. And I was almost embarrassed to be playing with her on like when she goes to the character select screen and she just jiggles. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But she's definitely my new T-Hawk. She's awesome. I know she doesn't play exactly like T-Hawk, but I'm really digging the way she plays. One of the things that I really liked about her, and one of our buddies, we're going to play a combo video by him later, our buddy Danny was telling me that move where she slap grabs you and throws you in either direction and bounces you against the wall, maybe you can explain this better than I can, but basically if it hits the wall, if your opponent hits the wall, they'll bounce back and you can get a punish. If they're in the middle of the screen, they just keep walking and trip and fall. Unless you do a backdash and hold back, they'll hit the invisible wall and come back at you. But even then, I couldn't really figure out what to do with it. But then again, I'm a scrub.
I mean, by backdashing, I don't know whether this is intended or a glitch. Yeah, it creates an invisible wall for her to throw you off of. And I think that'll probably stay in the game. And that opens up a whole boatload of like Nadeshiko combos and resets and setups. And I think it's going to be a pretty big deal for a game plan. So I think they'll keep it in. But yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt here. Damn, this guy must have a wife or something. I do have a wife. She actually did not mind. I'm looking at it. They're just okay. And I don't know if you guys saw that one video that came out where somebody was like deflating them and inflating them. I'm telling you, they're too big. They're too big. They need to be a little bit smaller. She's hot, yeah, for sure. It just looks comical. Anyway, they're trying to get that esports money, I think, and they need to attract all those young fans.
Regardless of that, the last big point I'd like to make about Street Fighter 4, and John touched on this a bit with talking about like not knowing whether things were complete and just where characters are in general. One thing that struck me for now was the way V-Trigger is built and the options characters have to build it versus whether they have 2 or 3 gauges. It is a very different right now. Vega's V skill is usable in combos only when he really goes out of the way to use it. Other characters gain it very easily through specific combos, and it seems to attempt to be balanced around how good it is. Necalli's V-Trigger is obviously insanely good.
Super Saiyan.
So it's a little harder for him to build it, but I'm wondering if they'll either show us what to do with it or see how it works out, because right now it seems like some characters just get a whole lot more out of the system than others.
All right, guys, we've talked a lot about the beta, and in a little bit we're going to show you a cool little combo video that a friend of ours made, but we want to talk about the Capcom Pro Tour. A lot of action went down. There were 3 tournaments where you could either qualify or rank, and there was a ton of action, and the standings have shifted. So, John, there was a couple things we wanted to talk about. One, and we'll just start here, is Razor and Razor's performance over the weekend. Team Razor in various tournaments.
Yeah. Well, so Fudo requalified. No, Fudo won, and then Shan got second. But both of those players already qualified. So Razor R actually took 3rd place and qualified himself for a 3rd place victory. Which this far along in the tour, I guess that kind of thing is going to happen with the same players doing as well as they do. But that was interesting for a very specific reason. R was not within the top 32 of as far as points go on the Pro Tour rankings, which means he just bumped somebody, whoever's going to be in 32nd place, out of the final bracket. Now, most of everyone else that's qualified is up in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, maybe even like 15th at worst. But this is a guy who's in like 87th or something like that, and now he's in the tournament. So this everyone that's fighting for that top 32, top 31 spot, they just made their work just got cut out for them even harder. And we look at PR Balrog, who was fighting for 32nd, clinched 32nd by 1 point over the weekend, and now still isn't in the Pro Tour because of what R did. It's ridiculous, the shiftings and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and there's a couple of things that come to mind. One is that the Capcom Pro Tour at first was like, oh, they're going to steal the thunder from some of these tournaments. I think the exact opposite has happened, and now it's like when you play fantasy football or something, and all of a sudden you have this other layer of investment, and it has helped me get more excited about something that I was already excited about, and I'm loving following. Well, this needs to happen for this guy to qualify, and vice versa. We have a guy that's writing for us now, Steve, also known as Ace King Offsuit, and he's been doing some cool write-ups. I know you've been doing some write-ups on Eventhubs. Everybody is getting in on this because. One, it's kind of legitimizing us as on the eve of esports, and two, there's an audience for it, and it's been proven now. So I'm excited about those things, and again, it makes the tournaments a little more engaging. The other guy that I hadn't seen in a long time, and he showed up at Defend the North, was Justin Wong. And I mean, you, John, if you wouldn't mind, set that up a little bit for us. The fact that he hadn't been here for a while, he hadn't been to many tournaments, and now he's back. Yeah,
Justin, from what I understand, has been focusing some of his focus elsewhere with his job and things like that. And yeah, we haven't seen him as much. And he won a tournament. I was talking with K-Brad over at SCR, and he said, yeah, Justin won a tournament, qualified for the Pro Tour or for the Capcom Cup, and then yeah, we haven't seen him much, and even in Marvel, we didn't see him at Evo, placing in the top 8 or anything like that. So we went from a guy that you see him at every tournament, placing first, second, third in every event or in every game, and then, yes, suddenly he's gone. And I wouldn't go as far to say as people are like, oh, Justin Wong fell off or anything like that. I never heard that buzzing around at all. But, yeah, we're kind of like, where's he at? And then he comes out of nowhere, shows up for Defend the North, and takes the whole thing. And we're like, oh, yeah, well, Justin Wong's still here. We remember who he is. He's still a force to be reckoned with. It's good old Jay Wong. So I think that was big for him, though, to reinstate who he is in the FGC.
And very notably, he did it with Rose and Elena, when he was typically been known as a Rufus user in the past. So those are characters who are considered very high tier at this point in the game, and often, he's been using them to counterpick. So it's interesting to see a guy who's stuck with Rufus the majority of the time. He's counterpicked around, but always kind of gone back. He did the same thing in Marvel, where he played Wolverine, then he tried to play Spencer, but he went back. I don't think he's going back this time, because I think this has worked out better than any of his old counterpicks of the past.
What is there to go back to? This is the end of Street Fighter 4, man. Street Fighter 5 is coming out in February. Do you think people are going to still be caring as much? Regardless, that doesn't even need to be argued. I'm excited that this is the final season that we're going out on as far as with Street Fighter 4, because we're seeing cool stuff. It's still exciting. We're seeing guys evolve. At this tournament, Defend the North, not only did he not use Rufus, he also didn't compete in Marvel, at least according to Ray, our producer. So, he's trimming the fat, not just because he didn't pick Rufus, but because, maybe it's a laser focus.
You mentioned it not being important about the Street Fighter 4 vs. 5 thing, but that's been kind of a Twitter debate recently, whether not Street Fighter 4 will continue to be played after the Capcom Pro Tour, after Street Fighter 5 releases at EVO. We don't really know any of that yet, and it's going to be interesting to see. I think more so than with 2 or 3 and the jump to 4, the games are more similar. So I'm not as sure that people will stick with Street Fighter 4, but it's really hard to tell, and you definitely have the people who love the game. And Cross Tekken came out very similar, and no one latched onto that. So it might just depend on how good the game is, really. But a new numbered Street Fighter is going to be something to see, whether it can just usurp everything.
Well, it was Jabali who tweeted out this. With Street Fighter 5 releasing earlier than expected, do you want to see FGC events still host Ultra or drop it completely? All my friends who played the beta are like, I don't even want to play Ultra anymore. I'm hooked on the beta, or I'm hooked on 5. But again, we are fortunate to have RKGFO in town. There's a super strong Third Strike scene here. There's precedent for not dropping off these old games. In fact, there's a Super Turbo scene.
And the big deal isn't going to be whether or not everyone's playing Street Fighter 4. It's going to be whether or not people want to continue to see the rivalries that are happening at the top. I don't think as a game it'll be played nearly on the same level. I think everyone will agree that Street Fighter 5 is going to be taking way more numbers at tournaments and such. But will there still be these big invitationals? Will they still have it at tournaments just so that you can see, Snake Eyes play Dominion one more time? Something like that. I don't know if they'll have a send-off, whatever it may be. There will be people who like Street Fighter 4 that don't like Street Fighter 5, and where that goes is to be seen.
John, should they drop Ultra Street Fighter 4 from tournament lineups when Street Fighter 5 lands?
I saw a tweet from Alex Valle recently, and he said he doesn't know how they're gonna have Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 at his events like Wednesday Night Fights. There just isn't gonna be the room for it or something like that. But it got people talking about this whole thing, and I think, yes, there will be, it will linger, but will it be on the main stage? Probably not. There are so many people from the old days that are ready to get rid of Street Fighter 4 and have been for such a long time that they're going to jump on Street Fighter 5 and never look back. There are going to be 09ers that, this is what I grew up with, this is what I came into the community with. Those people will still play, and Street Fighter 4 is such a huge game right now. It's the game, and it rehydrated the series, got things rolling again. I think it'll be at tournaments at least for a while, but I don't think I think we're going to see a major drop off, and it's going to be in favor of 5. So yeah, like to recap, it's going to be mostly Street Fighter 5, and you'll see some hardcore Street Fighter 4 fans on the side, but I bet 25% of the numbers that you're seeing now.
Totally agree.
John, thank you so much for joining us today again on Best of 3 to talk about fighting games. We love having you on, our brother from another mother from Eventhubs. See you next week.
Guys, thank you so much. And as soon as the beta comes back or we get a chance, I want Donka to teach me how to be a master beta player.
I've been known to teach.
Yeah, just like we can get some sessions in and learn together. I think it'd be great.
Online or IRL or?
Well, we should do it in person. It's just better, and we should use our Mika because I think she'd be the best tool to master the beta with.
I couldn't agree with you more, John. Thank you.
I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, thanks, John. Okay, we're going to dial up Mike Ross, but before we do that, or rather while we do that, our buddy Dan cut together a combo video from the Street Fighter V beta with all these new characters, and we're going to roll for you, and you tell us what you think. I mean, one last thought about the beta while we wait for Mike to get on the line is, one, it was awesome, but two, what a nice treat that they started including all the first round of beta characters in that.
I think it was good. It let us see their design direction with how they're changing the characters. We've seen them change from iteration to iteration, but those have been at these major game shows where not everyone could play them. This was the first time that we got to see Ryu before and after the patch changes, so we saw what they were doing. Some people were furious that they took away his links. Some people were like, yeah, he's a little more in bounds with the rest of the game now. We saw the same with Bison, with all the rest of the characters. So I think the third beta is really going to be, just another chance to see where they're going with changes to the game before it actually comes out. Because while they are going to change the game, during the release, they've said that multiple times, I think it's a big deal to do it right now before it becomes, invasive to tournaments. But more important than me is the guest we have coming on.
Exactly.
Right now.
What the people have been waiting for. Before we bring on Mike Ross, for anybody out there in the stream chat who doesn't know who he is, we got a video to fill you in.
My name is Mike Ross. I'm 26 years old and I'm from Los Angeles, California. I'm also a competitive Street Fighter 4 player and I play that professionally.
The YouTube stuff helps, but the YouTube stuff only exists, and I truly feel that it's because this Street Fighter 4 came out. That's it. That without that game, none of this would happen.
I didn't need to do it because I know. Like I said.
Oh, counter hit. Oh, counter hit. Some only know me just for like the Excellent Adventures videos, and they kind of forget that I am a tournament player. So like when I lose a match, I am, like everybody. Nobody is in a good mood when they lose, But I guess a lot of people don't know that. They think that I'm like all happy and giggles, but I'm like, no, I want to kill myself right now, We got Street Fighter, we got frame data, and we got matchups. Except my life!
And they said, what does Michael do? And I said, well, to the best of my knowledge, he's a video gamer. They said, what is your son's name? I said, his name is Mike Ross. And there's a kid on the bus, and his father asked him, you ever heard of Mike Ross? And the guy looks back and he says, oh yeah, he's big.
Mike is in transit somewhere, but I think we see him. Mike, are you with us? Is that you, Mike? Are you being kidnapped, Mike? Do we have you, Mike?
Can you hold up? First of all, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Are you on your phone?
Yes, I'm on my phone. I have reasons to explain. Hold up. Hold on, let me.
Mike Ross. We're tuning Mike Ross right now. We're getting him in.
And this is what you call a World Warrior, I guess, right?
Exactly, yeah.
We've gotten kicked out of like multiple games right now. My laptop is working, so
Mike, are you at the Twitch studios right now? Are you at the Twitch main headquarters, main office?
I am at the HQ. I'm not at the studios right now.
I hear you, but they're kicking you out. They're kicking out Mike Ross, the face of the FGC, the Twitch partnership liaison guy. They're kicking him. They're not letting him get on this damn show. Uh-oh.
Call I gotta go through. Okay, you know.
Well, Mike, we're super excited for you to be on the show. We wanted to have you on here for a while, and there's a bunch of stuff we want to talk to you about. And again, since I like to let people know ahead of time what we're talking about, the 3 things that I told you I wanted to talk about were the Capcom Pro Tour. You have been to a lot of those events. Then we're going to talk about Capcom Pro Talk, and I'm not just going to ask you, is there a show tonight? Because that's what a lot of people want to know.
Thank you.
And in general, I want to talk about you and basically how you fit into this ecosystem, this new live streaming FGC Esports, let's send Mike Ross to make the FGC look good everywhere he goes type of role, which to me is interesting because a lot of people, when they first met you, and as we played in the video ahead of time, is like, yes, you're a competitor first, but a lot of people got to know you through Excellent Adventures, and dare I say, fell in love with you and Gutex. And as a result, a lot of things have happened. This is where I want to start, because I was listening to an interview from UFGT, some panel that you were on a couple of years ago, and you were saying that if it wasn't for Street Fighter 4, that was a couple of years ago, but if it wasn't for Street Fighter 4, we wouldn't have any of this. We wouldn't have the FGC as it is today. So the FGC has a lot to be grateful for. My question to you is, what did Street Fighter 4, what does it mean to you and how your career has turned out?
I mean, like, again, the timing and the release of that game it just so happened to fit into, I think, a great time frame for everybody that was doing exactly what I had been doing, which was traveling. I don't even want to say traveling to that extent, but just going to, like, you know, their local scenes and competing in fighting game tournaments. For us, you know, a lot of us, the people from my group, had been competing in games such as Marvel vs. Capcom 2, CVS 2, Super Turbo for so many years. Like, it just started to get stale. And Street Fighter 4, fortunately, came out at a time where, you know, everybody was ready for something new. They were ready for something fresh. And, you know, there was others like myself, you know, primarily Gutex at the time, because when Street Fighter 4 dropped, it was at my nearby video store, Video 94, back in the day. And when I would go there, Ryan was there all the time, and he and I would just, like, you know, when everybody would leave and go home after playing, he and I would just sit around afterwards and, like, go to Yoshinoya or something and just chat it up, saying, like, man, like, this is actually something big. How come people aren't seeing how big this is? You know, like, we've been waiting for something new for so long, and so many people that we know are just talking about it. Even people that we knew were not a part of the FGC, like just dudes we knew from high school or something, were just, like, talking about, oh, yeah, we heard of Street Fighter 4. So we just saw that as an opportunity. It's like, man, this is something big. Obviously, everybody's going to want to get on this, you know. There needs to be some kind of hub of information where people can, you know, kind of go to.
You're talking about some kind of, like, event hub or something like that, or?
Yeah, some kind of, like, event hubs or something like that, you know. I don't know.
But I mean, the reason I bring that up is because, okay, so that was like, you know, capturing lightning in a bottle and running with it, right? I mean, you guys really pioneered this whole making content with you and Gutex. But let's fast forward to now. You're so recognizable in the FGC and arguably outside the FGC that Twitch wanted you, I guess, right? Like, who do we get to help us sell fighting games? I know. Let's get Mike Ross. Ray, our producer, pulled the video of when you announced it on James Chen's or on Ultra Chen show. Take us back to that moment and then tell us how things have changed, because in a few moments I'm going to play video from last night's TNT NBA show.
Okay. Well, you go back to that. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I went down to James, and you can even ask James and David. I told them beforehand, I was like, honestly, guys, like, I didn't even want to announce this. Like, I didn't even want to, like, let people know. I just wanted to, I just cared more to just kind of, I don't know, do things, get things done. I just didn't want people to know where it was coming from, kind of thing, you know?
What do you mean?
You can ask James about that. I don't know. I was so hesitant. I just didn't want people, like, I wanted Twitch to do great. I wanted Twitch to do great for the FGC. I didn't care. I didn't want people to know that I was, like, kind of helping with it at the time, but I know that's something that, like, couldn't be hidden. So when I announced it on James' thing, I had already been with Twitch for a while, a small while, but I just didn't tell anybody yet. And I don't know. I just felt like it was just a good opportunity then, just to kind of let people know.
Yeah. Well,
but it was.
Mike, and I'm certainly not. I mean, I think that there's room to tease you a little bit about it, but that's not my intention with this whole NBA TNT thing. But what I'm getting at is, or what I find interesting is, it's like, okay, we have NBA TNT sponsorship. We're going to play the game live. Who do we get? Mike Ross. Why? Because he's likable. But come clean. Were you the best pick to host this show?
Oh, okay. So I will definitely come clean with that. So, I mean, it's kind of it was an interesting situation. One, they asked if I would be interested, because I worked with the team here on a previous product and they loved it and they wanted to know if I would do that. And I was like, man, actually, like, I'm a big fan of the NBA and stuff like that. I have been for a long time. A lot of people outside the FGC know that. But like with this, I needed to know. I was like, well, what's required of me? Like, do you guys need me for commentary? Because if you guys need me for that, then I would prefer somebody else do it. Obviously somebody who's like super diehard with 2K16, or somebody who is, obviously going nuts on every NBA season. However, they're like, oh, no. We just need somebody just to sit there, kind of interact with chat and just host everything and make sure everything is, like, run smoothly. You have a good idea for what, like, people like for content and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool, done. And then, like, about 3 minutes beforehand, they're like, okay, so you're ready to commentate this, right? I was like, all right.
We'll switcheroo.
Yeah, so, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it didn't matter. I just wanted to have fun with it, and I just hope everybody else at least enjoyed it. That's all that matters.
I didn't catch the end of it. Who got that size 22 signed Shaquille O'Neal basketball shoe?
Yeah, so the size 22 was one of the broadcaster. His name is Gold Glove. And I've actually checked it. I kind of did research on everybody I was going to be working with in advance. And I saw Gold Glove's YouTube channel, and he does a lot of NBA 2K16 stuff. So I guess a lot of people that, like, followed that scene already knew he was the best player of the group, and that he would most likely win. And sure enough, he outplayed everybody, and he got the shoe.
Mike, the real reason I bring all that up is because I'm interested to know what you think your role is at Twitch, because obviously at first it made perfect sense. Oh, fighting games. He's going to go out there and he's going to represent FG's fighting games well, and that'll help everybody, and he'll be host and he'll be commentator and all these cool things. But then they got you thrown into other things like what we just showed, and I'm just curious as to what you think your role is in this new ecosystem where these jobs did not exist 5 years ago.
Correct. Obviously, yeah. That's the big thing is, I knew what I was getting into even when I signed the contract coming here, is that this was going to be like it was a new world, and there was a lot of discovery and a lot of room for growth. So obviously I came in to help with the fighting game connections. I knew a lot of people in the fighting game scene. I still, have good relations with them, so I would help them out as much as possible. But I guess here at Twitch, they slowly started to see that my time was just being overly swamped and overly consumed. And I can't be multiple places at the same time, which is why, if you notice, we're looking for a new guy to handle fighting game community stuff. And what that means for me is my role will now shift. I am only going to be involved with esports, primarily facilitating the Capcom Pro Tour stuff. Again, which is why I can't compete, because I have like a lot of involvement with, what's going on with the league itself. So that's going to be where my time is consumed. It's going to be with Capcom Pro Tour. And as well, I'm still going to be doing, whatever I can on the side and freelancing, if you will.
And how do you feel about not competing at this point? Coming in, you were an extremely strong competitor. Where does this put you now?
In terms of not competing, and when I watch Street Fighter 4, there's always going to be a piece of me that's like, man, like I still wish. I know what it takes to be a top level competitor, and really what it is time, and that time is like kind of completely slipped from my fingers, and I don't really have that anymore to dedicate to being one of the best players. In other words, I would need, let's say, 4 to 6 hours a day just to get back into the rhythm of things to be the best. Now with Street Fighter V coming out, it really makes me salty because I watch so many people uploading videos and uploading combo videos, and everybody thinks they're the best. They're saying all these matchups, and I'm just looking, I'm like, oh, you guys suck, but it's good that I can't enter. It's really good because I did one tournament. I didn't even use Birdie, who I main, and it's not fair right now. It's a good thing I'm not allowed to enter Street Fighter V.
But I've heard that even Combo Fiend still gets in on the action at these like hacker fight things, like in Silicon Valley or like tech startups do like this fighting game tournament.
Okay. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So guess what? Last year, when I was first hired by Twitch, I brought home the trophy. Why? Because I felt the pressure. They're like, Mike, we just hired you. You're FGC, right? We're going to send you to Hacker Fight. What did I do? I got first place. No problem. My team didn't have to play. This time around, I got a little comfortable. I wanted to let my team shine because I did all the work myself this time. Guess what? They're probably going to do Hacker Fight when Street Fighter V comes around. Guess what? I'm going to get second place because I can't beat Combo.
So Combo Fiend makes it into that. That's how I know about Hacker Fights, is I saw him wearing a Hacker Fight shirt once, and I figured, well, why even compete? Why even bother if you got guys like you and Mike and Combo Fiend in these events?
Yeah, well, so obviously, I don't know if Combo Fiend kind of expressed it to you guys, but like with his ordeal is he can still enter tournaments as long as there's no prizing of any sport, like no cash prizes or something like that. So he can still enter tournaments like Hacker Fight. And again, like I said, I will make sure that I enter Hacker Fight next year here in San Francisco and enter those tournaments, where it's not Capcom Pro Tour related. I'll enter all non-Capcom Pro Tour related tournaments.
Cool.
And I'll still try, but not for Street Fighter. Street Fighter 4, I admit, you guys can get the exclusive here first. I am terrible at that game right now, and it's embarrassing to play. I'm just preparing myself for 5, but I gotta pay attention because I still have some life left in 4, and who knows how long it's gonna last. You guys were talking about it beforehand, and in my personal opinion, even when 5 drops, people are still gonna enter that game. I don't see it dying for a while.
I agree with you. Not to mention, not everybody has a PlayStation 4. I mean, that alone is reason to hold on to the games that you are playing. But you were going to say something, Mike?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I mean, we've seen you at this point, and we talked about this a little bit already, in pretty much every facet of fighting games, and we've talked about you as a competitor and you in front of the camera now, and you even
I kind of lost you there.
Okay. What is the last thing you heard, Mike, and we'll recap it for you.
Sorry, the last thing I heard you say was "we've seen you," and I didn't hear anything after that.
We'll just repeat the question, which is that, I mean, we've seen you in front of the camera doing all this. We've seen you as a competitor, and you were even behind the camera, as many people know, filming like the Dark Prince interview, among many other things.
Oh, yeah.
Is for people who like to play the games and like to be involved in the community, do you think there's a lot more roles out there? Like, where is there for the FGC to get wider in terms of, what for people to do?
Besides hosting a weekly fighting game show, of course. Go ahead.
For me, it was kind of different. Like you mentioned way back in the Dark Prince era. And even like then, just when I think back to that, I didn't do those videos because I said, oh, there's a role that I want to do. I did those videos because at the time I said, this is something that needs to happen because it didn't exist. There were so many combo videos, there were so many tournament videos, but I can't explain any of that to my friends. Like when I was in high school and even in college, when I was kind of doing all that stuff, my friends weren't playing, but I wouldn't want to explain to them what was going on, because if I showed them a video, it's just a video of a match. Who cares about that? Like nobody cares about that. So what I wanted to do, even back then, I was like, well, let me show you who this guy is, and maybe you'll care about this match. And so, like, I remember interviewing Dark Prince in 2007, 6, 7, I think. And it's the only reason why is because I knew him as a person. And as this guy's talking to me, I'm just looking at him like, you are a fascinating individual. And I wish more people knew about you, whether they're going to love you or hate you. You're somebody that like people should know about and should be talking. So I I was still going to school, trying to major in TV and film, and I had a camera that my brother and I like invested in. And so I said, well, screw it. This is going to be my first like side project. I'm just going to try to start showcasing a lot of these FGC personalities to the world. And to this day, I'm still trying to, I meet people in the FGC, and I'm like, man, you're like something crazy. Like, more people should know about you. And I just wish more people knew about the amazing personalities in the scene. So it wasn't about trying to look for a specific role. It was more of a personal thing of things that I thought needed to be out there, and I just did it.
Well, with that said, I mean, you're obviously working with Twitch, which has given people an avenue to get themselves out there rather than letting someone else discover them in the first place. How do you feel people are doing? Are they doing a good job of getting themselves out there? What do you do to make yourself found on Twitch? And is this a good avenue for people to become big names in the fighting game community or esports in general?
Absolutely. I mean, look at how many people, like, let's take Infiltration, for example.
Yep.
This is a guy, I remember when I met this dude, and I was like, man, you're one of the most, like, entertaining. I didn't tell him that, but I was like, he's one of the most entertaining dudes I've ever met. Like, how come people don't know this? And I remember we brought him out, we gave him a chance, brought him to something called ESGN. Whoa, okay, anyways. Brought him to something called ESGN. And I remember getting messages from people saying, I can't believe how fake that show was. You guys made Infiltration act silly and do all this kind of stupid stuff. And I'm like, in my head, I'm just thinking, like, this is stupid. Like, this is just how these guys really are. And now Infiltration is streaming, regularly, and people see that personality. It's like, it just is who he is. And that's one of the dope things about Twitch. It's like, these people, if this is who you really are, people will know that, and they'll accept it, but some people want to just be famous, and when people are seeking that, it usually doesn't end well, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that burning.
Yeah,
I can see that people burning out, and you're right. The audience on Twitch is very, very discerning. I don't know, like they know immediately. They can read right through bullshit. But
absolutely, yeah.
And you're right, but I wanted to point out a case that goes in line with what you're talking about. We had Cast on with Broly a couple of weeks ago. Cast has been doing gangbusters on Twitch. He got his entire trip funded to Canada Cup by donations, and he's putting on an entertaining stream. More people? The only other streams that I watch, and there's several, fighting game players, is like when Justin Wong is playing fighting games. That's like must see for me. It's hilarious. You mentioned Infiltration. Who else out there? I mean, you are the Twitch representative here. Who on Twitch is doing work in fighting games?
Oh man, there's a lot of people. There's too many to name. A4 Andre, Panda X Gaming, PR Rog back when he was hot, like streaming constantly, I should say, before he kind of settled down and did the 9 to 5 route. Flo as well. I wish you had prepared me for this, so I could have prepared for you guys like 30 names.
Maximilian, I'm thinking of, as far as big numbers.
Portal Bronx, NYC, so many streams that I just randomly hop in. Of course, like Broly Legs.
Eris.
Who else?
Ultra Chin.
Eris avoiding. Yeah, Ultra Chin. All the usual suspects. I'm trying to think of more of the obscure names that people may not know. Of people actually out there doing stuff. But yeah, there's just so many guys, and these names that I mentioned, it's like I look at these streams and I can just immediately tell, like, these guys are not doing it to be famous. Mm-hmm. These guys are doing it because they like playing the game, and they want to entertain however many people it is that are in their chat room, whether it's 12 people or whether it's 212 people or 2,000. Like, you should treat everybody as if it's just one person that you're just trying to talk to and entertain them.
Mike, you mentioned PR Rog, and I'm going to use that to segue into Capcom Pro Tour. Not Capcom Pro Talk yet, Capcom Pro Tour. We were talking earlier on the show, and I was mentioning how I think it's added this cool context to the tournament season that makes it a little bit more engaging and more incentive to watch, and you're following along and all that stuff. You've actually been traveling to a ton of these events. What is your perception on the ground from the competitors? Do the competitors care about Capcom Pro Tour? Or are they just doing their thing like always? Your insider take.
So in the beginning, obviously, I think this is the first major year where people really understood what was going on with Capcom Pro Tour. We had it last year and everybody was like hyped about it. They were really excited. I think the competitors were competing. Like you said, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm competing. It's for Capcom Pro Tour or whatever. And then after Capcom Cup last year and they announced the $500,000 prize bonus, people started to wake up and said, wait a minute, maybe I should take this more seriously. Maybe what are the requirements? What do I need to know? And I could see more players, like even the ones that I talked to before, now they're coming back to me, talking to me about their point system. I need this to qualify. And I'm just smiling in the background saying, good, it's working. You know, like people are starting to get more invested into the actual structure and the system and everything. It's not about it's not about just winning. Winning is always like kind of the main thing, but now it's about, man, I have to do well so I can get into Capcom Cup by the end of the year.
And again, the question to you is, does that add stress, unneeded stress and anxiety to a player who's already, I mean, I think of a guy like PR Rog who tweeted, I have tears in my eyes, right? After his performance or losing to 801 Strider. Again, is it adding undue stress, or is this just the new game and you better get with it?
It's definitely the new game. It's definitely adding stress. It's always going to add stress no matter what you do. Like when the scene grows, it's not about the point system. It's not even about the money. Stress will be added if you go to a tournament one week, 10 people are there, and the next week you show up and now 20 people are watching. There's still added stress there. So that's always going to be an element that exists. But I'm just happy that it's like it's an added level of component. It's an added level of emotion, that's added into the mix, where now people are caring not just about getting first place. They're caring about qualifying. They're caring about this point structure. I'm reading different websites, and people are, doing all kinds of stat tracking for the point system. And I just think it's great. It's an absolute necessity that was missing in the Pro Tour stuff.
Yeah. And
in the FGC, I should say.
Mm-hmm. And as these points become a bigger deal and personalities become more defined, we've asked this question to pretty much everyone on the show so far. Will we outgrow the open bracket? People care a lot about seeing, the players they love. And with Street Fighter V coming out and the levels being a little more even, will people care as much to watch, a new guy make it far in every different tournament? Or are we going to see more of these invitationals pop up outside of just at the end of the year?
So that's a very, very good question. And it's a question that specifically that Gutex and myself have been discussing since 2008. I'm not sure if I really want to share that right now, but I just think it's really interesting that now it's good to hear you guys talking about it. So basically, it sounds like we're on the right path, but no, open bracket tournaments are necessary. They're never going to go anywhere. They need to happen. You need to have tournaments where anybody can enter. Why? Because you need to know who's the best. Once you know who the best is, then it's time to start bringing these guys to invitational events where you can kind of throw on some really crazy production and such like with the Red Bull Kumites and stuff like that. Like those events are just outstanding.
That was a badass event for sure.
Mm-hmm. But open bracket tournaments will never go away. And that's why tournaments like Evo never will go away. And on top of that, they're only going to get bigger.
And how do you feel about the landscape of online in addition to that? Because if Street Fighter V Online is going to be so much better than Street Fighter 4, which we're hoping it is at least, and everyone's going to be forced to be on the PS4 or PC crossplay, is that where the open bracket might transfer over to, or is this still going to be at every event?
I could honestly say the online aspect just simply depends on how well the online, if it's playable, obviously, right? And unfortunately for us, being in the FGC, we've never had that game where the online aspect was just so good that it's like, oh, well, we don't even need offline tournaments, because it's so good here. However, with Street Fighter V, that's why they're doing all these stress tests, these beta tests to make sure that they perfect it and that it's as lag free as possible. If they can somehow make a Street Fighter game that's playable online, I would love to see open brackets kind of migrate to the online world. That way, people from SoCal can play against the East Coast people.
Nope.
You're disagreeing with me? You don't want to see that?
No, man. You got to be sitting next to the guy. You got to be in the room. There's that magic, right, of being in the arcade.
That's never going to go away. Don't get me wrong. We're not going to be stationary watching this, online and saying, "Oh, congratulations, this guy just won everything, and he's going to go home and celebrate." No. I for one, people don't agree with me on this. I still prefer side to side over head to head. I know why head to head is better because you're not distracted by what the other opponent is doing, but I still like that shoulder-to-shoulder element, because when I do something and I embarrass you, I can actually turn and look at you to see if you're still okay.
Oh, and I mean,
You
the
know, like
salty
that.
handshake's a big deal to the crowd as well afterwards. I mean, there's a lot there, yeah.
Right, but I truly don't see a problem with holding online tournaments so that people from Montana and Idaho that don't really travel out to other events have a shot, you know, to do well in these open brackets, and then get flown out to, say, a CEO or SCR or NCR, TFC, you know, final round, something like that. That's why I do want to see online tournaments prevail, to give shots to the people that aren't in the populated areas.
Mike, we're talking about the Capcom Pro Tour and tournament structures, but I want to talk about the Capcom Pro Talk, your show on Twitch that comes on Tuesdays. I'm going to reveal, I'm going to expose myself here a second. I knew that Ultra Chen had a show on Tuesday. I knew you had a show on Tuesday, and I said, where should we put our show? Let's put it on Tuesday, because let's make that a fighting game talk show night.
Yeah. Yes.
I have watched your show a lot. Everybody likes that show. What is going on with it? Why isn't it on as often as people would like?
So we did pretty good by doing like every week. And then September came, and I was scared of September since March, because I knew September is Tokyo Game Show. I knew September was TwitchCon. There was another event. Oh, I had to do another shoot in LA for something. I just knew it was going to be bad. But to me, that's like, it's upsetting, because that's not what I want, especially a guy who was not too long ago preaching to the choir about, you know, the importance of consistency. But unfortunately, like I need to figure out a solution to where I can be available every Tuesday, but my time is like really spread thin, which it shouldn't be. And that's why we're trying to alleviate some of that. Moving forward, I mean, I don't want to tell you guys too many of my plans for 2016, but I'm definitely stepping up CPT next year. It's gonna be pretty crazy. You guys will like it.
Yeah, I mean, you said that it looks like your relationship with Capcom is formalizing further. Does that have something to do with where you're taking CPT?
Oh, no. No, our relationship is good, but no, this is, I mean, pretty much everything is, you know, they, yeah, I'm over here trying to make sure that the show is as good as possible. It's kind of a one-man operation at the time. I do get some help from Adam. I'm trying to figure out a way where I can incorporate more help from other people. It's a process right now, but I'm still working on it. But for 2016, it looks like we might be okay.
Does that mean nicer studio, a full set, you know, a couple of camera crew, some producers?
Maybe, hopefully. Keep your fingers crossed. I mean, hopefully, yeah. I'm obviously looking. Yeah, if anybody wants to produce this, please contact me. Yeah, no, I'm actually looking into everything you mentioned, and you know, hopefully it's going to go through. I don't want to overhype anything. I hate overhyping things. I've learned in the past that that's a horrible thing to do, but I am definitely working on trying to improve CPT for 2016.
Just give away turbos instead. I don't care, yeah, right?
You know, I mean, hey, the turbos, it was, like I said, that's another story in itself.
Mike, you mentioned that you were doing a shoot in LA. Was that the IGN show that you shot, that Esports?
No. That was, IGN was done up here.
Okay.
What I did in LA, I actually did I did Excellent Adventures.
Okay.
And I also did a commercial advertisement that you guys will probably see November 1st.
Oh, right on.
So.
Well, Mike, the reason why I'd asked about that IGN thing is because the one thing that stood out to me is you were on, I forget, Bobby Scar's show. Is it Melee on Me or something like that?
On Me. Yeah, Melee on Me.
Then you guys brought him, and then you brought him on to Exit Adventures. Yeah. So that's like, you know, FGC and Smash coming together. And then you were on that IGN show specifically to talk about FGC versus IGN with another guy from Melee on Me, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. What is going on with this convergence of fighting games and Smash, spearheaded by none other than yourself? Is it just a good idea, or is somebody mandating that to you at Twitch?
Nobody's mandating it. It's just, I mean, the way I see it is what's important is the connection between people. It's not so much about the communities. The fact of the matter is whether Bobby Scar was not a Smash player and I was not a Street Fighter player, like that guy and I would still be friends. And it just so happens that he comes from the Smash background. I come from a Street Fighter background. And I'm like, dude, well, let's do something together, you know? So brought Scar on. And obviously people seem to like it. At least I hope they liked it. There's more opportunities to integrate with Smash. It's not that I'm trying to directly integrate. It's just something that's happened. Like it's just an accident, a happy accident that's just been going on. We're communities that are in reality two of the same. There's really nothing different about us besides the game and the people that play it, but everything else is like we're still a part of the same community. We're a small group that love the game and will do anything it takes to make sure that it survives.
All right, Chief, I got 2 questions left for you. Is there a Capcom Pro Talk tonight?
Yes, and I'll tell you that I have Flo coming down. He will be the guest for tonight. Probably a mistake, but it is what it is. So Flo will be down.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to add a question to that. Why is it that sometimes after the show airs, it doesn't make it to YouTube?
So you're asking the hard-hitting questions, and I have a great answer for that. I don't want to put anybody on blast. So basically, I'm one of the people as well rolling the dice, checking to see if it got uploaded or not. Man, that's a really... It depends how many layers you want me to get into that conversation.
Let's go through the first 3.
I know you only want the truth, right? You only want the truth.
Only the truth.
That's the only reason why.
The whole truth and nothing but.
So, obviously, the show gets uploaded to Capcom's channel. So it's on them whether or not they want to upload it or not. If we still do have the show that exists on VODs, but it does get uploaded on their content, so it is up to them. They have the final say on that. However, they are not a large as team as people might think. So if they are also swamped with things, sometimes it just goes like under the radar, and I kind of have to like send a bump or a reminder, like, hey man, we got to get this up. And of course, as you may know, there may have been an episode or 2 which could not get uploaded for other reasons.
It got too real. It got too real on the Capcom Pro Talk.
Might have been some suggestive content. Now, what's funny is I always see people saying, yo, where's this episode at? Why isn't it uploaded? Oh, it's because of this. And I can honestly say not one person has gotten their answer right as to why some episodes have not been uploaded. Not one person has gotten it right. And I've seen like all the thousands of comments for it.
All right.
It's something that just wouldn't make sense.
Fair enough. We heard it here straight from Mike. Last question I have for you, man, is Canada Cup. What are you looking forward to?
Yes. I'll be going there. I leave, Thursday? I'll get there Thursday. Honestly, what I'm looking forward to is, at this point, it's almost hopeless. Everything I always want to see, like everybody seems pretty much in a good spot, for getting into Capcom Cup. Eduardo needs to win. I hope Smug goes. I would like to see Smug get in. That's the one thing I want to see. I want to see Smug get into Capcom Cup. We just need that character representation. It looks like, oh, never mind. I'm not getting kicked out of here. Okay. We definitely need to see that character representation up there. Outside of that, I'm always looking for newcomers.
And we have lost Mike Ross. He went to go look for newcomers, I think.
Went to go look for newcomers, got kicked out of his own headquarters, right?
It's crazy, man. Why can't this guy get his own studio, right? Or rather, why can't they hook him up in his studio?
Sounds like something's coming based on what he was saying, but we'll see.
I'm not sure if his phone died or what happened there, but thank you very much to Mike Ross for coming on our show and talking to us about all those things. Your thoughts on what he had to say about where he's headed with Capcom Pro Tour and that next year is going to be the year. Of course, Street Fighter V. And I'm sorry to keep interrupting you here before you even give a damn answer, but we've been hearing, and the signs have been very clear for a while now, that everything from the 25th anniversary to these 2 first seasons of the Capcom Pro Tour have all been in anticipation and preparation for Street Fighter V.
I mean, in relation to that, and one thing that really struck me, what he said was that he wasn't doing anything because he was looking for a role. He's been doing everything because it hasn't been done yet. And that he, even today, is still just trying to explore the bounds of the fighting community. And I think that after, being hired by Twitch and having all this close involvement with Capcom, they're really, taking a page from his book and doing the same thing, preparing for the future, bringing us something we didn't have, bringing us, the free-to-play for Street Fighter V, all those aspects, bringing us better online play, bringing us tournaments that lead to invitationals. And I think there's just a lot there, and it's proven itself. The guy went from filming Dark Prince interviews to doing random casts for games he doesn't even play. Mm-hmm. So, why not test the waters, and why not prepare for Street Fighter V? We've talked about this a little bit. that is the game coming out. No matter whether you play anime games, no matter whether you play Marvel, everyone's going to at least try this game, and most people are going to really want to play it because Street Fighter V being popular is how you're going to have these tournaments continue to exist. When we had, Alex Valle on the show 2 weeks ago, he said that we have to keep all these games together, and what better way to do it than to get the most popular game a lot of exposure.
This whole esportsification, right? It's been going in that direction, but it hasn't hit that. He hasn't hit the gas on it. Street Fighter V will. You think it's going to work? Do you think it'll grow the community?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't tell you how many people you see online talk about, we don't play 4 yet, but we watch it. Trying 5 seems like a no-brainer. What do you have to lose? The game's going to be, it is a full retail game. I honestly thought they might go the totally free-to-play route, but there's just way too much risk in that for something they don't know yet, whether it'll work or not. But I think a lot of people are going to buy the game and try it. I think Rising Thunder, even to an extent, helped. A lot of people who are streaming other games tried that out and liked it and had a lot of fun with it. So you're going to see people try it. You're going to see top streamers for other games stream it. And it's going to get a lot of leeway. And with it being so new, everyone's going to be like, yeah, I can pick that up. Why not?
Mm-hmm. My fears were assuaged. The Street Fighter V didn't seem as easy mode as they made it seem like it would be.
I totally agree with that. There's a lot there in the game, whether people want to do it or not. Looking for counter hits, finding Oki setups, even some of the combos, because there is not a buffer on everything. I don't know whether it's a glitch or not, but Ken's run cancels don't involve a buffer afterwards. There's still juggle combos that are frame tight. The game is not for children. It might be easier than Street Fighter 4 executionally, but, there's still a lot of depth there.
Well, guys, that has brought us to the end of the show. We usually do break apart some of the matches. However, not all the matches have been uploaded yet. So we're going to hold that off until next week. We want to thank you for joining us here on Best of 3, and thank Mike Ross until he got unfortunately knocked out of the call. I also want to thank Will Kopis, our technical director, and Ray Chun, our fearless producer, to help us put this show together. And if you guys like what you see, please follow the channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, and let us know, do you think Street Fighter V will be that big esports hit that they're hoping for? Thank you for watching.